There has been a significant shift in the structure of households here in South Korea in recent years, with a growing number of people choosing to live alone. So why are Koreans choosing to live solo? What are the broader implications of this trend? And are policies in place to support this living arrangement? Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sunhee. A growing number of Koreans are seeking to live solo, and today we explore this trend. I have Professor Choi Hyunsun at Myongji University live on the line. Professor Choi, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
I also have Soa here in the studio. Soa, good to have you back.
Good afternoon, Sunny.
Right then, let's begin with details, Soa, about the latest data on one-person households here in Korea as shared by Seoul's Interior Ministry.
10 million, that is the figure that Korea has surpassed in terms of single-person households last month, which is an all-time high. The country's Interior Ministry looked at the proportion of households with different numbers of members out of some 24 million households in total. So as you can see here, these are the numbers based on resident registration data as of March. More than 10,021,000 households were one-person households. That's almost 42%, and an increase from around 9.98 million in February, which was the previous record high. So it is the first time one-person households reached above 10 million. There are some 5.9 million two-person households, followed by 4 million three-person households and 3.1 million four-person households. There was a rise in two- and three-person households from February, but an on-month decline in four-person households. Now, by age, the highest number of single households was found among people aged 60 to 69 with 1.85 million households, followed by the 30 to 39 and 50 to 59 age group. There was also quite a high proportion of those in their 70s and above. Single living was more popular in the capital Seoul and Gyeonggi-do province area than in other places, 2 million and 2.2 million respectively. And there were more male single-person households than female, that being 5.15 million versus 4.87 million.
Right then. Now, Professor Choi, Soa has shared with us the numbers of the single households here in Korea. That being said, what are your thoughts now regarding the reasons behind the rise in the number of people choosing to live alone here in the country?
Sunny, first of all, I was very surprised. We have more than 10 million population live alone. So this is a surprising news. I think that there are three reasons why it happens. Maybe first thing is the income getting higher, and our lifestyle is very diverse, which means we become the developed country. So many developed countries, especially North European countries, has experienced more than 40% of the household is live alone, which is one single household. So I think that we have a change of our lifestyle, and people can decide how we can live. So they decide that becomes like a more a single household is increased. Second thing is we have an issue about some generation older age cohort, which means as Soa just explained about 30 to 39, 60 to 69, and over 70s, they are the cohort, the age cohort, they have more single household, which means I think that especially young generation has a no vision for the future, and then maybe there is not enough financial opportunity, and they cannot have the good family, especially through the marriage. So I think that just more young generation people live alone. And maybe third one is maybe aging population also has with some regions they live alone. I think that one of the big issues about poverty in aging population in Korea. And according to OECD statistics, our aging population is the lowest income level, or most of our population under the poverty line, which means that poverty issue can bring the more the aging population is maybe single household life. I think those regions, we have more than 40%, which is maybe only North European countries has a more than 40% single household rate.
Right, indeed. And before we touch upon the policies then to better address this reality, so I understand that Korea itself, it's not the only country that is noting a greater presence of solo dwellers in recent years. Tell us more.
It is becoming more and more common to live alone. In fact, single-person households are the fastest growing household type across the world. In 2010 to 2019, one-person households increased by 31%. They are predicted to expand 35% during this decade to reach around 580 million by 2030. But this trend varies a lot by country. While single-person households are growing faster in Asia than elsewhere, for some countries it's already ordinary to have every other household living alone. If we were to group them, European countries, Canada and Australia are places where the proportion of alone living people is the highest, especially in Nordic countries like Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Roughly 1 out of 2 households are single households. And the average number per household in Norway has been dropping over the past decade to around 2.1 as of last year. Over 40% of households are single living households in Germany, Denmark, and Estonia. Now, China, the US, and the southern part of Latin America can be categorized as moderately high levels of one-person households. Households in the US rose from below 8% in 1940 to around 30% in recent years. Larger-sized multi-person households prevail in West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, as well as West Asia, South and Central Asia. And yes, I also want to mention the opposite side, the extreme. We've got in countries like Senegal and Afghanistan, the average number is 8 people households is the average there.
Right, I see. Professor Choi, then, based on what Soa has just said, and also with regard to what you mentioned earlier, it seems that people in developed countries are more likely to live alone than their counterparts in less developed countries. How do you explain this trend?
I think that maybe there are psychological reason or cultural reason and economic reason. But first of all, economic factor is maybe influence on the people, and they can choose their lifestyle. They can live alone with maybe the sustainable the income. Also, another way is there are also cultural side, which is more and more young generation have their own fun and joy and culture, and that they can get together, but they don't need any like a family, like our original some of the membership sometimes. So it happens like a single household. I think that it is one of the big reasons is maybe the lack of the community. I mean our original life is based on community, which is we know each other, our village. We have our like a ma을 or village we focus on. But nowadays, in the city life, we say we don't need any community. Maybe in the city life, you can have a fun, we can have a culture, we can have other options. So I think that maybe young generation can choose. I believe many developed countries, especially young generation, they have a single household life. But the old generation also are the same. So I think that we must remember, maybe developed country is very good. I mean, the more higher income is very good, but sometimes we have maybe a lack of our our original force.
Right, and keeping that in mind then, so let's touch upon further, that is, on the repercussions of the rise in one-person households. What does research tell us about the broader implications of this living pattern?
Well, let's first look at the economic impacts. The growth in one-person households will or is having effects on houses. With more people living alone, you need more homes, but smaller ones. Different demands for types of dwelling are changing the housing market. Now, other shifts in consumption patterns are related to transportation, natural resources, and energy. There are certain things like home appliances, domestic goods, and food that single-person households purchase differently compared to bigger households or families. And we already see lots of items that cater to one-person households here in Korea, like meal packagings for smaller portions, for instance. The implications expand into the financial and personal counseling sector, travel, and even entertainment. From a social perspective, there are challenges in connecting with other people, as living with your family or other member of a 2 or more person household usually brings emotional well-being. As one-person households have to care for themselves, they are often more vulnerable and can face more difficulties such as illness, social isolation, or loneliness. In fact, Korea's health ministry released the results of a survey last month that showed the possibility of committing suicide was 1.4 times higher among one-person households compared to bigger households. And in Korea, already among OECD countries, the suicide rate is already high. So if we do have an increase in single households, that could even rise further. Now, what's even more challenging is single-person households that are poor and in old age. That not only is a problem for the individual, but the public and government alike. While in Korea, we are trying to get the marriage figures and birth rate up, that's the focus right now, I would say. But in other countries where it's already become more common to have single households, single-person households, they are actually also trying to discuss to have more single home-centered policies.
Right, and speaking about policies then, Professor Choi, which policy priorities do you propose to better accommodate the rise in single-person households here in Korea?
I think that's what just pointed out about some of the loneliness and the psychological some of the risk. I think maybe most over, I think we must focus on the safety and maybe social network and the psychological health. Unfortunately, our trend of the single-person household is a little different from the real developed country in the North Europe, because some isolated people we have, but those population has not enough financial the asset also. They are just isolated, which means it can trigger some kind of the suicide issue and some bad things for the against the society. So there are many the lonely wolves in our society. This is a very bad situation. So policy more focus on how those single person household people can mix together with many other people, and it become the more better psychological health. Also, safety is a big issue. I think maybe just woman and man that live alone is both sides has a safety issue, but afraidly. We had, this is 10 years ago, we had the Seoul, the event, the accident of the Seoul, which means our society is still under the risk society issue. So I think that's a very bad for the single, the person household. They can more go to the inside, not outside. So I think the safety, health, psychological health, and social network should be priority the policy.
Right, and keeping in mind what Professor Choi said then, so what more can you share with us about the efforts here on the local front to address the needs of solo dwellers?
Well, various efforts are being made on the national as well as the regional level, ranging from housing to the safety and health of single-person households to financial independence and social network issues. The Seoul metropolitan government earlier this year announced a project to provide shared houses at discounted rates for single-person households starting in the second half of this year. When this plan was announced, the 1.5 million one-person households in Seoul were referred to, accounting for some 37% of the capital city's total number of households. So that is the figure of last year. But if you remember earlier, I mentioned that the figure was already at 2 million in March this year. What I have to mention, though, is that studies can vary depending on which criteria you're looking at when defining a single household. Now, the plan is to offer private rooms for rent to one-person households at 50 to 70% of the market price for studio apartments of similar size. And then shared kitchens, laundry rooms, and other entertainment spaces will be provided. Meanwhile, as the proportion of elderly one-person households and those living in poverty is on the rise, many immediate policies are focused on supporting these vulnerable groups. A district in the city of Ulsan just yesterday on Tuesday announced its operation of an AI-based call service pilot program that should help in looking over people living alone and also prevent single-person households from dying alone. Now, unlike existing services that are based on short answer questions, this new service will remember the context of previous conversations and therefore talk more naturally like a human, and also analyzes the user's health, eating, sleeping, or exercising habits. And these conversations are sent to officials in charge who can immediately check back if they suspect something is wrong. And also, while I was doing my research, I saw that almost on a daily basis or so, we are seeing new policies, similar policies in municipalities. And Suwon City, for instance, has a website that is for single-person households where it updates its policies for these house types.
Right, good to know, Soa. Meanwhile, Professor Choi, keeping in mind the rise in number of young adults choosing to live alone amid Korea's shrinking population, do you suppose the government here, Professor Choi, should make policies or should seek policies to encourage marriage? Should marriage itself become a national priority for the country, do you think?
This is a very, we should carefully approach this issue because I believe government cannot insist on marriage on the individuals. So I think that it should be very indirect way, but never say you must marry. Okay, this is government order. That's not the way. Okay, so I think that we should be very careful about this. But yes, that's a big issue. We are shrinking of our population is a big issue. But I think the government making better circumstance when the young generation can feel they can save and they can raise the children in the better circumstance. I think that is a very important. So such as safety is a big issue. Again, 10 years ago we had that tragedy, and many young generation watch it. The Seoul is maybe sink down on the sea, and 300 people died. That is a big impact in the trauma in our society. So I think that still young generation cannot believe we are living in the safe society. There's a big issue why they didn't marry. But the people, if government in the other way, the marriage is good, marriage you should marry, that kind of policy. Also, the single people can have we cannot harm single people because of that, because some kind of tax issue, either some benefit issue, maybe if we have pay for the married couple because they are married, they have more promotion, they have more the finance benefit. That could be issue in the later. So I think the government should be very careful about this issue. But I believe we must have a better community and more safer society. Then we will maybe our young generation will marry more.
Right, hopefully. Professor Choi, some 50 years from right now, Korea's current population of about 51 million is expected to plunge to 36 million, with those aged 65 and above accounting for roughly half of that population. That will include my daughter as well, by the way. Can we fight this reality, Professor Choi, or is this reality destined to happen regardless of our countermeasures?
I think it's already too late to with like a promotion of the marriage or the promote about some of the give birth more baby, that is maybe that is too late already. So I think that we combine the policy, the track is should be like we have a better society and our people can more married, and the other track we have a more aggressively invite the people from outside. So immigration policy, I think we must combine together, and both sides must be aggressive. Then we can keep our population maybe somewhat, but with some kind of marriage promotion and some kind of how can we doing something inside ourselves is too late, I think. So I think the government policy makers should maybe acknowledge about they are already late. Okay, so it is time to combine. We must go to the multi-cultural society.
I see, which means opening our doors to foreigners. Is that what you mean, Professor Choi?
Yes. Yes.
Right, I see. Well, so we have some time left, and that being said, there was a bit of foreign media coverage about Koreans in general, the younger generation that is, seeking to live or to choose a solo lifestyle given its many merits, so they say. Could you tell us a bit about that coverage?
Right, foreign media have been covering not just the increase in the single households in Korea, because that trend is also seen in other Asian countries, but especially they have been referring to that trend called 혼족 in Korea. 혼자 means alone, 족 means tribe, so people call themselves the tribe of people who are living alone, and they have that confidence in being a 혼족. So it's not that people think that they are living alone because of economic troubles or because they just don't have a partner, etc. They have their own reasons for living alone, and also especially for women in Korea, there's still a gap when it comes to income between males and females, and also once you have a child, many of them have to give up their careers because still in Korea there is that kind of traditional image that the man has to earn the bread and the women take care of the children. So in those cases, there is also that 비혼, which refers to people who actually pledge that they're not going to get married. So yes, that is one interesting factor that is seen from abroad regarding these young Koreans in Korea that just choose to live alone.
Right, and hopefully, as Professor Choi, if we nurture a society, perhaps, Professor Choi, that has safety in mind, then maybe we can encourage a greater number of people to choose another lifestyle as well, one that will serve positively, that is, on our population in the future. Professor Choi, thank you so much. Right, Professor Choi, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today. And Soa, thank you very much for your insights.
My pleasure.
Right, well, that ends Wednesday's edition of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for watching. Be sure to join us again same time tomorrow.